What a superhuman pick for Travis Hunter!
You're on 89 with Steve Smith Sr. and James Palmer. You've probably already watched the Travis Hunter wide receiver breakdown, which a lot of people in this league think he is a better receiver than corner. There are also people that believe he is going to be a better corner than a receiver. This is the wild debate, Steve, we're having with one of the rarest players we've seen come through this process. So let's talk about Travis Hunter. We talked about him as a receiver. Let's talk about him as a corner and the complexity of what he's trying to do. What goes along with that with terms of, we'll get into durability. We'll get into what's on his plate mentally throughout the week. And then I have some things that some different people from the league have said of how he could maybe manage this.
All 32 teams see Travis Hunter. Not all of them sees him the same.
No.
There's a category of teams who they're in one category says he's a wide receiver. And when I say wide receiver, I'm saying 80% of the teams believe he's primarily a wide receiver, which sparingly he can play corner. Like put him in a nickel, put him in a slide, let him get, kind of physical with someone. Then there's another group who believes about 80% primarily his position is corner. Then there's another group of people who say he's both. Like they really believe he can do both. I'm not saying that he can or cannot because guess what, people? I don't know.
We've never seen it.
We've never seen it. And I'm saying we've never seen it in regards of this amount of workload. Charles Woodson balled.
Big time.
Deion Sanders balled.
Champ Bailey was there with us on Friday, and he balled on both sides of the ball.
He balled. But at some point, either by injury or by team or circumstance, these guys are either the position picks them or like Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, Brian Sanders, where the sport picks them, where they become so successful in the other sport that they stick there. And so while I was watching Travis, there's a few things that stood out to me.
Do tell.
He only did wide receiver drills. And there were things that he was doing in a wide receiver drill that I saw that was a cornerback stance or a cornerback step. He was catching the ball, so he was standing still, catching the ball, right foot out, but his right foot was out almost like he was about to flip his hips and go the other way. And so I just remember seeing that as going, he's so gifted at wide receiver, he's playing corner. At corner, he's in a wide receiver stance. And that's athletic problem. But it's just some of those small techniques that I saw that also tells me he does need to, that's why I made a statement of, a jack of all trades.
He most likely will have to play one position primarily so he can master his craft. Because you never want to be a jack of all trades and master of none. They don't pay masters of none. They pay craftsmen.
I'm not hating. I'm saying jack of all trades. He's so young, he could do everything. But at some point, you're going to have to, especially at this level, you're going to have to hone in those skills because you can't just be okay with being a receiver and okay with being a corner and then play both, because at some point, the okayness will get your team in trouble.
I didn't think you, when we made that video at the Pro Day, I didn't think you were hating on Travis in any sense.
Nope.
I didn't think you were throwing shade on Travis in any sense, because essentially what you were saying is if he does play both ways, A, we've never seen that before. This is the first player to really push extremely hard from their own stance saying that I'm going to play both sides of the football. He wants to get announced when he goes across that stage in Green Bay. He wants Roger Goodell to say, Travis Hunter, wide receiver, defensive back. He wants both of them announced. He is pushed so hard for this. But what you're saying, and is what a lot of coaches and coaches specifically have said, because I've talked to multiple defensive back coaches about him. I've talked to multiple wide receiver coaches about him. It's this, Steve, and this is, I think, what you were pointing out. There is a lot of work to be done. But man, what am I working with talent-wise? That's what they're saying. It's a lot. It's, man, there is so much talent.
Not in a bad way. You're like, wow. Like, woo.
He's top of the board in a receiver class. He's top of the board in the cornerback class. But these coaches are saying the same thing. And it's exactly what you're saying is he could be an NFL starter in both, doing both. But if he focuses on one of them, look out. Because there's work to be done. There hasn't been enough time on task. There hasn't been enough coaching. And that's why I want to get into in this conversation too, because I did talk to a receiver coach that said the receiver coach of the team he lands with is going to be extremely important. All coaches are not equal.
No, they're not. Not every 32 teams have good cornerback coaches, or secondary coaches, or wide receiver coaches. There's some wide receiver coaches who have gotten a lot of credit for turning a player into a Pro Bowler 3 or 4 years. Bro, you didn't do nothing. I don't want to say you didn't do anything, but let's pump the brakes a little bit, you know?
Yeah. It's funny, like I was talking to a DB coach. I'm going to give all you guys kind of what he said to me in his evaluation, because he graded him for his organization as a corner. But he said the thing that, and it's funny because it's a totally different skill level, Steve, but he was like, it's like when I was coaching in college and you watch Travis Hunter, it's like when you were recruiting high school kids. And he's just that much better than everybody else on the field. But there's work to be done at everything he does. He's just that much more talented than everybody on the field. He's like, and this is college. This is the dude that won the Heisman. Like, this is a whole step up from that. But this reminds me of when I was recruiting for college. So what he's telling me is this: elite balance and body control as a corner. Elite zone instincts as a corner, which if you go back and make sure you watch the Travis Hunter breakdown as a receiver, which we talked about his instincts and understanding of playing against zone coverage. It's because I'm told he's a really good zone corner in terms of his instincts. There's some guys in that top group, whether it be Derek Stingley or Pat Surtain or J.C. Horn or whoever it is, that he doesn't have yet. He has some traits that some of those guys don't have. He's just not refined yet. And as smart as he is, I was told, and the way that he can study, if you wanted him to play corner full time, he would pick those things up extremely quickly. Because this part stands out to me, Steve, and I want this from a player's perspective. He just said the game moves so slow for him up here. Like, it's just, the game is going slow for him mentally, and that's an advantage, right? If you can slow things down as much as possible.
When you start to slow things down with your mind, you're starting to see it as a professional.
Yeah.
One interesting tidbit someone told me was with Travis Hunter, they said, the question is, are you looking for Travis Hunter to stop touchdowns or to get touchdowns? That's where you need to decide his value. Is this a guy you want to throw? You feel like you can throw him the football, he can out-jump someone in the end zone? Then you get him as a wide receiver. But if your coaching staff doesn't see him as that and they only see him as a corner, you got to decide what value he brings to your team if he was forced to only play one position.
That's the interesting part, right? Because I look at value oftentimes in the NFL by what? Dollars, right? What does that position get paid? Why do quarterbacks get paid $60 million a year like Dak Prescott? The value of the position. Right now, where we stand, the top receiver is making double what the top corner is making. 40 million to 20 and change, right? Like, does that show you value? Is there more value in scoring? I think the league right now, and I like your perspective, is lacking explosive plays. Teams, when I talk to them, are desperate for explosives and desperate for points.
Yep.
And does he have more value if he can put more points on the board than if he stops another team that you can just avoid Travis Hunter? Because that happens with top tier corners, right? You just go away from him as an offense.
Mm-hmm. I guess the question is Travis Hunter, what type of corner is he?
This episode of 89 is brought to you by Row. Listen up, people. It's spring, right? Everything is in bloom. So let's talk a little birds and bees, because everybody's a little frisky in the spring. And Row Sparks, well, they have you covered. If you're looking for a little boost, a little more fun for you and your partner, well, Row has it taken care of. Now, I'm no doctor, but you put it under your tongue, it dissolves, it lasts for up to 36 hours, so you can go back to back to back to back if you'd like. Now, Row connects you with a medical provider 100% online, so there's no awkward face-to-face interaction. And, if you're approved, shipped directly to your door. So if prescribed, new sexual health patients will get $15 off Sparks on a reoccurring plan. So connect with the provider at ro.co/89 to find out if a prescription for Ro Sparks is for you. Be ready to play with Ro Sparks.
I guess the question is Travis Hunter, what type of corner is he? Is he a shutdown corner in the league? Or is he a shadow guy, or he's follow and plays zone coverage? I don't see Travis being a shutdown corner. Now, can he be that over time? Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't see him coming into
Right
the
out
league.
the gate.
Right out the gate talking about, you know what? Man, I'm bench pressing everybody. I'm not sure if I see that.
Yeah, because what did you see from Patrick Surtain coming out? What did everybody say from, when I talked to Aqib, Talib, or any of these guys that play corner at a high level? Technique is flawless. How important is technique for a corner, right? And these are all things that they're going to come with Travis. Nobody doubts it, but he's been splitting his time. So where does that happen in terms of his impact directly out of the gate? A lot of people in the league think it's at wide receiver. But the funny part, and we talked about this in the other video, was one team thinks he's better as a receiver. One team thinks he's better as a corner. That's not even by team. There are buildings I've talked to where our organization is split on this guy.
Yes.
Nobody is arguing the talent, but we are split as a building.
I have 5 teams tell me that their building is split.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh no, we want him as corner. Oh no, he's a receiver. Oh, and that's pretty crazy.
It's really wild as a player to have that type of analysis on you. And so the other part that goes with this, as we look at durability, I'm curious. There's teams that, while you're complimenting the way Travis plays, which is 100 miles an hour, throws his body around, really tries to play as physical as possible, does all these things. He's playing at. Teams think he can play at about 192, be a couple pounds more than he played in college, which was 188, 189-ish, I think some teams say. So the way he plays is a compliment. If he wants to play both ways in the NFL, can he play that style is something teams are also evaluating.
I do think there is a limit on how much weight he can gain. When you look at his structure, lower lumbar is not one of those places where you're saying, man, I can see he's got room to grow. Mm-hmm. Small frame, almost has basketball legs a little bit. And that was surprising. So I'm not sure outside of 192 that
That seemed to be the limit I was told. 190 to 192. Man,
I don't think his hamstrings and his back and all that stuff can take 195. I think he gets up to 195. Soft tissue, chronic injuries start to accumulate and start to become a nagging and lingering thing if he goes over 192.
Does he have to practice, Steve? You got to practice.
Yep.
Right? That didn't happen a ton at CU, and I understand why, what they did at the beginning of the week. He's averaging 111 snaps a game. Now, Prime will tell you game at the NFL goes a lot slower. The plays happen with more time between them than, say, in the collegiate level. So Prime says that's in his favor. He's usually in really, really good shape. What I find kind of funny, I just wanted to bring this up. He has one of the guys we've seen in recent memory kind of play on both sides of the ball in Dion. I think it was 93 or 94, was it, that he actually played a good amount on the offensive side of the ball. I think he had 36 catches or something like that. And Champ Bailey was there at the showcase, who did it to a small extent on the offensive side of the ball. Man, was he unbelievable as a corner, but he did a lot in college and then went, what if he goes to the Patriots? Mike Vrabel moonlit as a tight end. He kind of knew how to do a package. He had a package in goal line. He has one of the best stat lines ever, 14 catches, 14 touchdowns for his career. Kind of a lot of interesting guys that have just kind of been around Travis in something that's such a unique situation. I just found that kind of fascinating. And the reason I brought up Vrabel is I think he had probably most level-headed answer when asked about it at the owners meeting, Steve, about if Travis Hunter falls to them at 4, what would be his plan coach-wise? And it's play him, have a primary position that he needs to master, but if he can take it mentally and meeting-wise, you keep adding and you keep adding. And if you can keep adding that stuff and he doesn't start swimming, you just keep adding it to him. He's not going to stop. And that's an organization Belichick would have always. I'm curious what Bill Belichick would have been like if he got Travis Hunter. because he was always creative with guys.
Yeah. But he don't.
You're right, Steve. So no Bill Belichick, not an option unless he wants to continue to use eligibility and go to North Carolina. So where do you want to see Travis Hunter play? What's the best fit? Browns at 2, Giants 3, Patriots 4. That's the end of my options because I don't think he's getting past that, Steve. That's the end of his day.
If he's playing offense, the Browns are a tough one. He's playing defense. You want him with the Browns or Broncos just because the defensive-minded coach, the philosophy, the type of defense that they already have. He heightens them, adds a different flavor. But it's really tough right now to really say. But there are some teams that I think who won't pick him, but who just will try to grab him because he's available and then not really have a real game plan.
Better have a game plan. We'll see.